this is why we need coaches to challenge us to do better. We need community to watch other people rise up and do things differently. We need better models. That's why we need a process that challenges us to consistently do things that are uncomfortable. And even though you're telling yourself every day that no, I'm growing every day, you're likely growing in areas you're comfortable with, not in areas you're not comfortable with.
So true. And you bring up the process, and I think this is one of the things I think about what will keep a coaching business the same is sales process. If the sales process that you have is not a system, but it's more of a mystery, or it's more of a patchwork of occasional things that happen, that sometimes you'll get lucky and move it forward and get a client or whatever, and
but that's been one of the best sources of like clients for me, because I'm like, I just want to get on a call with them, see if I can support them.
What is the 10 to 12 hours project you have focused on?
Hey, it's Daniel, and you are about to watch a clip from our free podcast, The Coach's Journey, where we help you navigate the surprisingly difficult path of building a coaching business by people who are actually doing it. And we go live, raw and unedited every week in our free Facebook community.
Coaches Nation, welcome to 2026 and another episode of the Coach's Journey podcast. I'm Daniel Fernandez here with Faisal Insan, and we are coming to you from a brand new year. I'm sure you're already there with us. And today's topic is why your coaching business will not be different in 2026 either. A little bit of a sarcastic title. I'm excited about this one because it'll get people's attention, I hope, and motivate them to actually make it different. Or if you'd like it to be more of the same, also motivate you to be more consistent with all the things. So we'll get into that today. So first of all, Happy New Year, Faisal. And to our whole community, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody watching this or listening to this. I'm super excited about this. I actually did my training for my community right before this, and one of my clients jumped on the call and he said, well, how's 2026 treating you? I'm like, well, it's been treating me the same way 2025 was treating me. Hasn't changed. But my intentions, my plan, the way I show up has definitely shifted. And that's where the real crux of what we're talking about is that most coaches think that their business will be different this year. And this is what blows my mind. Coaches know this. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're not going to get any different results. But again, we're human beings. We have our blind spots. Coaches keep repeating the same pattern in business the last year, the year before that, and they keep getting the same results. And that was the same. When I was the first couple of years, it was the same thing. Every time I remember I would go to these certifications, and by the end of it, my reaction was like, I did it again. The same thing that I repeated last year. I was just a little bit better at being intentional, but I was repeating essentially the same thing. We just had a couple of new members join our community, 3 or 4 members, and I've had calls with them. And same pattern. They're like, you know what? I don't know why I keep repeating the same thing that I did 3 years ago or 4 years ago, because that's all they know. That's what they've been taught. And unless you do something new, unless you focus on an area that actually propels you forward, nothing is going to change.
Yeah, and I think I think I've been going through that same cycle too, and a little bit behind you. So like my coaching business has definitely changed in 2025, but not as significantly as I'd like it to, right? But I think the biggest change that I had in 2025 was being a lot more intentional about referrals. And more intentional about asking for referrals and like creating a process that actually creates referrals. And like I had been doing it, but not quite as intentionally as I should have been. So that was a big change in 2025, and it has been successful for sure. And I think 2026, there's several other pieces of my process that I'm going to be improving, and I'm already starting to. But it's not like it's going to change immediately on January 1st, 2026. It's got to be a habit change. And there's a habit, your business, my business, every coach listening, their business is going to have habit changes that are going to be critical. Because if you can't change the habits that are creating what you got, you're going to get the same, right? Like the definition of insanity. If you keep doing the same thing you were doing, even though it's not working,
Yeah. And you're expecting a different result. Yeah. And some coaches are hearing this, well, this is my world, this is my jam, I work in and out with habits. Just because you understand how habits are formed, how it's done, doesn't mean you will do it as a human
Sure.
being. And this is where this is why coaches need coaches. This is why coaches need accountability. This is why coaches need community. Just like every other human being, you might understand the behaviors behind it. You might be a little bit better at the intentionality piece of it, but here's what ends up happening: you will always revert back to what is comfortable for you. This is why we need coaches to challenge us to do better. We need community to watch other people rise up and do things differently. We need better models. That's why we need a process that challenges us to consistently do things that are uncomfortable. And even though you're telling yourself every day that, no, I'm growing every day, you're likely growing in areas you're comfortable with, not in areas you're not comfortable with.
So true. And you bring up the process, and I think this is one of the things that I think about what will keep a coaching business the same is sales process. If the sales process that you have is not a system, but it's more of a mystery, or it's more of a patchwork of occasional things that happen, that sometimes you'll get lucky and move it forward and get a client or whatever. And that's where I think the inertia that we have as coaches is very, very strong. It's like whatever we're doing, it's easy to keep doing. And part of that comes down to the personal growth we all need, because we need to go into the uncomfortable. And the uncomfortable usually is around consistency. It's usually around doing the same thing, the boring essentials, over and over and over again, instead of that creative noise or creative stuff that we can sometimes get distracted by. I think that's a big piece of the change that we have to go through as humans. That's not just coaching; that's humans, right? And
No.
Sometimes I feel like I've slipped into places where I'm kind of inoculated against growth. Like I'm like, well, I'm a coach. I know the stuff, like you were saying. Like I don't need a coach. But then I'm like, yeah, no, I still need a coach.
Yeah. Probably more so. So this is a very interesting pattern, and this might be a good tip for coaches as well. A lot of the times, coaches, when they work with somebody, I often hear this as a spouse or a business partner, they're very interested in personal development, and their spouse or somebody, they're not as interested in personal development. And whenever they talk to them about it, personal growth, they get bored out of it and they don't do anything. And then they'll come to me, it's like, oh, my spouse or business partner or somebody in my life doesn't want to grow. And what they think they're doing is helping them change. What they are doing is just repeating things that they like. But that's been one of the best sources of like clients for me, because I'm like, I just want to get on a call with them, see if I can support them. I just speak their language. I just ask them questions that they're looking to solve, answers to which they are looking for. I go towards things that they care about. And pretty soon they're like, oh, this is helping me. And then that ends up being my client. And my client usually will be like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, that's 101 influence. You don't go towards things you're interested in. You become curious about what other people are interested in. And the reason why I share this is that coaches, as much as they think they're growing, they're just speaking a language. They're doing
About
things
growth.
that they're interested in. Like it sounds like they're changing. They're not. Actually, a lot of growth is doing uncomfortable things that you're probably not interested in going towards.
Yeah, if you think you're growing, but you're just talking about growth and studying growth and like thinking about growth concepts and talking the language of growth, which is we love to do that as coaches, is not the same thing as growing. Like it's like reading a book about a bicycle, and you can be an expert on all the parts of the bicycle from the book, and you might be the greatest, bike, knowledgeable person in the world, but you might not be actually riding the bike. And we're all guilty of that. It's funny you mentioned this about personal growth. Like my wife and I, when I first was in a relationship with her, I was concerned that she wasn't into personal growth like me. It took me years to figure out that actually she is so deeply into personal growth, but it's not the way that I define it. It's not like what I was thinking about as personal growth, like going to the personal growth events and conferences and like taking programs for personal growth. And it was more about like living in the fishbowl or the ocean of personal growth, like doing hard things and like challenging yourself and learning and growing by doing things. And like I was like, that's awesome. It took me a while to really recognize that she has her own version of how to grow. Like I wasn't only interested in the intellectual aspects of personal growth. I was doing my own things to grow myself for sure, but Just because she didn't want to speak the same language as me doesn't mean that she wasn't absolutely into growth herself in her own way, in her own terms, her own language, her own growth path. And over time, I recognized that, and that's true with clients too. It's like growth means different things to different people. If you can figure out the language that resonates with somebody, that's a different question than the language that resonates with you as a coach. The language that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and this past year, and I want to share the past 3 years, I've had like sort of not as much. It's more of a desire. It was part of my vision to write a book, for example, and I struggled. Like this is my world. Like I know how to push people. I know how to challenge people. I wasn't able to do it the past 3 years. And then coming to the middle of the year, and I was looking for a specific opportunity as well to be part of something that actually helps me not just write a book, but something that connects to my business as well. And finally found Rich Litvin's program. I came across that opportunity. And I asked myself, like, am I going to do this year? I'm likely going to repeat the same pattern the past 2 years I've been doing. And so I looked at the page. I went to the offer page for him. I gave myself 3 days to decide between the VIP and the normal. And I didn't need the VIP. I went towards VIP on purpose because it gives me enough pain to go make sure that I write. Because the difference was $1,000 versus $4,000. I knew that it wasn't going to be that much more, but what I knew was that extra money that I paid, that's going to be painful enough for me to go do the thing.
You paid him for your extra motivation, basically.
My extra, and it did. It worked. By the end of the year, I had my book, but it did a bunch of other stuff for me. It was like that was more an investment in my ability to say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I did it. And it built a bunch of other skill sets in the process, and I was sharing some of the insights about it within the community forums. Like it helped me grow as a person, as a leader, as a coach, just by forcing myself to do this. And I even put like the original promise of the program was to help us create a book that would create conversations with our ideal clients. But maybe the hidden promise was that it will help us grow in ways that we hadn't thought about. And that's exactly what happened. So, and that comes from investment in yourself as a coach. Sometimes that investment is in time. Sometimes that's in money. Sometimes that investment is in completely other ways in terms of your energy. But are you consistently investing in yourself? If you're not, and you're hoping that other people are investing in themselves by getting your coaching, one, it won't feel authentic for you to even offer that thing. And second, you're under the delusion that your life will change just because you understand the theory behind change.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed about you, Faisal, in this book process is like it was a commitment, like a commitment of time, energy, and resources. And it's like, if I think about what is Faisal doing right now, I know exactly what you're doing. You're writing a book. You're working on that. That's a big chunk project that I've recognized that you're talking about a lot. You're asking people for feedback. It's like a big thing that you're doing. And the reason that that's important in this conversation today is because it's like the one thing that you're focused on. I mean, you have your business, of course, but there's a one big goal that you're looking at. You don't have 75 goals that are all competing against each other, right? And so then you never get anything moved forward. You have a significant chunk of focus dedicated here, and you have to like book off your schedule for a significant amount of period of time over a long period to accomplish that, right?
So the past 8 weeks, about 10 to 12 hours have gone to that project, and just this week I'm looking at
each week. You mean, right?
Each week, pretty much 10 to 12 hours, and that's for most coaches. That's building a business. So it's like that has gone through it for me to figure it out.
I want to pause here because 10 to 12 hours, like that is a significant commitment of effort towards one thing. That is a high leverage point in your business. So I want to ask those people who are listening today, what is the 10 to 12 hours project that you have focused on, right? Like where's the big chunk? Where's the big focus, right? What is it? And if you have, as I do often, have too many things on the go, it eats into your ability to focus on something. And it eats into the time that you have available because now you're scattered between many things. So my recent thinking, I've actually been purging lots of projects out of my life, just like drawing water lines and like trying to get a very, very clear distilled version of what it is that I'm focused on, right? And that's the process because there's a lot of things on my plate, right?
Yeah.
And so just like you, it's like everybody, there's a billion things, but like that's partly my own doing, right? And so Do you have a thing that you're spending 10 to 12 hours every week on reliably, week after week after week? Or are you bouncing back and forth between a lot of things? It's like a checkpoint for coaches right now.
And just to put it in perspective, naturally speaking, if you're running a life in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you probably have multiple things happening. There's
Right.
no way to get out of that. I know, Daniel, you have kids, you have family. That is a thing in itself.
Multiple
Like that,
businesses, like
that's multiple businesses, and
there's so
within
many things.
there, multiple projects. And this is why it makes no sense to have multiple projects because your life is multiple projects to begin with. And so I look at just one chunk area to look at. So I've even like stopped myself from saying, even if I don't have a commitment, you know how we say, I'd love to learn this. I stopped saying that because
Yeah,
that
don't
kind of
bother.
creates some bandwidth problem in my mind. So, for example, my family, my wife, my kids, they're always doing something artistic, and I go there. I'm like, oh, I really want to do this. They're painting, they're doing crocheting, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And I literally found myself. I look at that, and I wanted to learn a lot of that stuff. In the past, I'd be like, "Oh, I really want to do this." Now I stop myself. I'm like, "No, I want to do this, but it's for later. But if I say it now, there's a part of my energy going right now. I don't have the energy doing it, and I accept that.
Yeah.
The energy that I have is to take care of myself and run the business and be there for my family. That's the energy I've left, and I had to be honest about that. In the past, I'd be like, "No, I could do this. I could play guitar. I could learn this." Like I could, but they will all be scattered.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
You
actually
know how
that's
to
something
play.
that's happened to me recently too, is like music is a big part of my life, right? And it's different for everybody, right? Like I recognize music is not a
Yeah,
huge part of your life, it's a big part of my life. But
it is a big part for you.
in the last few months, I've actually reprioritized and done a little bit less music because I wanted to focus on other things, other complicated family situations or life projects or whatever that I need to focus on to move like really, really important things forward. And so there's been some intentional trade-offs, right? And so again, part of that process of purging is like how can I simplify my life to the point where it's a very small number of things because it's the small number of things that get all your attention versus the large number of things that get almost no attention relative to one another, right? And like that's the way to not never push anything over the line.
Yeah. And I want to put this in perspective in terms of investment, in terms of time, energy, money. I'll start with money because it's a big pain point for a lot of coaches. It was actually one of our coaches a couple of years ago who directly sent me a message, and he had invested about 10,000 in his coaching certification. Most coaches don't even do that. And he directly asked me, he's like, when you started your business, the first 2 to 3 years, how much did you invest in your business? And he knew that I had invested the first 10,000 because we were part of the same certification. But then I told him in the first 3 years, I invested close to $20,000 in my
Yeah.
business. And it was other programs that I had to take to learn some of the business stuff. And that's all he needed to hear is like, oh, I didn't know what was normal. Is like I thought it was too much for me to spend 10,000 or invest 10,000 in my program. Now keep in mind, just put that in perspective. Most people barely spend a few $100s on their business. That's in terms of money. And then he was asking more things in terms of time and energies, like how much time do you spend? And we talk about that often in our community, like where is your time going? And now most coaches, their time usually goes towards building website, designing their content strategy. We don't do any of that stuff. We talk about where exactly your time and energy needs to go to for you to actually build a sustainable business. But for example, I was looking at my profit and loss just this past year. Now, of course, I'm in a different stage than a lot of coaches starting out or in the beginning stages. If I were to look at just my investment of money, it was close to $50,000 on different programs for me to grow coaches, communities, masterminds, and another 60,000 for my team. Like it was close to 110, $120,000 on my business.
Investments into the business, right?
Investment into the business. If I were to and it has increased year after year, it hasn't decreased. So if I was actually doing a rough calculation in my head, it's well over $300,000 over the past few years, like I'd say 6, 7 years, well over
Yeah.
300,000.
If I look back at that, at my coaching career, I was investing in it even before I started in different ways, but yeah, I mean the first year, tens of thousands of dollars for sure in the first couple years.
Yeah,
And I think since then it's probably six figures in
yeah,
my own business, right? And again, I have multiple businesses, and so coaching has not been as full time as it has been for you, Faisal, but I've still been investing significantly. to the point where my wife is like got a radar up against any program I want to invest in. She's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, let's talk about this. And it's good too, because oftentimes this is true for me, but also true for many coaches that I've talked to, which is they think that this one program will finally teach them the thing that they're going to do, but then they take it and then they don't implement, or it's not really the thing they needed at the time. And so, like, I've done that so many times I can't count. Like, invest in something that didn't really produce the effect, or didn't really um, match what my needs actually were, or maybe that I didn't even commit to. And why I'm sharing this is that part of the challenge is the consistency and the clarity. Like, you need to be consistent about the thing that you're working towards, and a lot of that comes from inside, not from somewhere else. It has to come from inside. And yes, you need guidance, you need community, you absolutely need like those things, but you need implementation and consistency rather than, it's like not the next thing I need to learn. It's the next thing that I'm building, that I'm creating, that what's the next level for me and my habits and like how I approach the game.
So I ran into a coach recently. I think it was last year, or the last few months, and I actually felt really like I felt for her because she had spent a few $1,000s on like I think close to 20,000
You
plus.
mean you felt sorry like that she had done that?
Yeah, well, not that she had done that, that she hadn't gotten the ROI that she was looking for, and she was in a very challenging situation with her personal problems. She was running out of funds, out of energy. She had to take care of kids. I really like, and it was a sales call for CMC, and I told her, I'm not offering anything for you. Here's what I'm going to help you. I'll send you a bunch of resources. Work on it. You've been paying for a lot of things, but you're not getting the ROI. And this is what she said. She's like, I've been following this path of becoming an influencer, building my website and my social media presence and all this stuff. And here's the funny thing. She's like, everybody thinks that I have a functioning, sustainable business because it looks like that, but I haven't made a dime. And this is the challenge in investing in your coaching business, is that a lot of the times people fall for marketing systems that are not set up for mindset, life coaches, or high performance coaches, or transformational type of coaches, anything related to people's behaviors, habits, psychology. Now, it's set up for overall coaches and consulting type of business.
Or even other kinds of businesses that are not for coaching.
Yeah, and they generally call them coaches, and you will see that they use the terms very interchangeably. And on top of that, it's created by some marketer who had created success a decade ago, and they're not doing the things that they were doing then. They're in a completely different space in their business, and they don't even know if it applies to people right now. And so they fall for it, and they create this model that doesn't actually help their business. It helps put them out there, and they look like they're influential in some way, but it's not really working. And so, and the way I look at it is, if you're a coach who's wanting to build a sustainable business and grow in the process, find a community of coaches who are actually building businesses, not because they're coaching other coaches, but because they actually run a coaching business of their own. And that's why in CMC, one of the things that we talk about a lot is that our primary thing is not CMC. We started this because, one, we needed help in the beginning, but we saw that other coaches were struggling with the same thing. I literally sent an email a couple of weeks ago to a coaching certification community and telling them, like, the same problems I had 10 years ago, the coaches still have the same problems, and they keep getting and even their community kept promoting marketing programs that don't actually serve them, because they think it'll help them. Usually they put in money into that, nothing happens. So the way I invest in my growth and my business's growth is, I actually, if it's a business program, I'll look at it. For example, I invested in a program middle of the year. That was Ritual Advance intensive. I said I'm gonna make 10 times that. That's usually my goal, is that if I put in $5,000, I better make 50,000 in the next year. I give myself a year. I'm already like 30,000 plus from that program. So I look for a specific ROI, and sometimes that's not specific ROI in terms of business, but I have clear milestones that this is going to help me grow in this way.
It might be strategic rather than financial, right? So
yeah, it's not, but I have clear. It's not about, oh, I need to get through this course and watch programs. For the book program I went through, I need to finished the book and I need to use it as a part of my branding. That was a strategic decision. And even though there wasn't a monetary thing associated with it, there is on the bigger strategy side, but I needed to make it a part of now. My goal for the next 6 months is everything needs to align under a brand that connects to the book. So the book needs to be published. I'm doing my workshop next. Everything is getting aligned under that umbrella. That was a strategic decision that had a clear ROI on the other side of it. If I'm hiring a coach on the personal development or business side, I need to understand what it's doing. I don't think coaches spend enough time because we love personal development.
I used to invest in programs like expensive programs like on the day I heard about them. I don't do that anymore. I'm much more thoughtful about it, especially with my wife's helped me there. And we actually talk through like what is the intention of this program? Why would I be investing in this? What is the ROI expected? How can we know whether it's working or not? And I actually go back and forth with the people who I'm buying from, asking them questions that come up in that discussion. And like I think it's a really valuable part of pre-committing before you buy a program to like pre-commit to like what is the schedule? Can I block this out? Do I have the time for the schedule that I need to attend? Do I don't need to attend? Can I like get help in a certain way that I need? And this is one of the reasons why I think CMC particularly is going to be a very effective program compared to the rest of the industry, because most programs across the board that I've seen are very focused on teaching, and they're very focused on like here, come to our trainings. We're going to certify you in a method, or we're going to teach you how to do this one thing through our recorded sessions. But they're not focused on implementation and supporting you through the more challenging part of actually doing the thing. So if you're getting certified in a particular tool, technology, process, whatever, they're going to give you the information, but they're not going to like support you through the part of it that's the hardest, that's the hardest thing to create, because you need really good coaching skills to help people through that. You need to be able to facilitate, have a group session where you support people. You have to be able to do tailored, targeted, custom support for people. And it's the implementation and the consistency that people need a lot of the time. The learning is important often, but it's the actual week after week after week after week showing up and trying it again and doing it again and getting adjustment, rather than like going to that particular session and learning something and taking notes and then not really doing something with that. It's actually the in-between stuff that's way more important than the stuff that you find in the sessions. Even as a coach, like I tell my clients this, I say, we're going to do a lot of amazing work in our sessions. And the value of these sessions is actually not in the session, it's outside the sessions where you go try stuff. And you come back and we debrief and we adjust and we learn things. We learn what didn't work, what did work. We learn what is incorrect. We learn how to adjust our thinking. All the learning that happens in between sessions is like almost 5 times more valuable than the stuff that we're doing in the session, right? And so it's really like, where does this land in your life, and how are you taking advantage of it is the question for these kinds of things. And that's one of the reasons why, like as we said when we started, like how will your coaching business be different in 2026? It's about intentionality, and actually living through those intentions and consistency and showing up over and over again, doing some of the basic essentials, and not necessarily buying all the stuff that's thrown at us from marketers, but actually being committed to the process of showing up.
Yeah. And there's an implied idea underneath all of it is that you're taking ownership of your decisions in this process.
Right.
And this is one of the things that I've seen with coaches. They will go into one program, the next program, and their complaint usually is, oh, this wasn't valuable, or this wasn't the best program. But did you make it valuable?
Yeah, I remember going back.
Every program is what I expected, but I need to do my best because I've invested the time and energy into it. How can I make it better?
Yeah, I remember going back about 5 years. I invested in like a $20,000 coaching program, and had some one-on-one support and everything. But I just kept on finding that it wasn't doing it. Like I wasn't getting places with it, and I partly definitely blame that program rather than the way I showed up. Later on, I look back and I'm like, yeah, I could have basically done a lot better there myself by being more judicious with my time and being more focused and coming to the sessions better, and not expecting those sessions to solve everything for me magically.
Yeah, and that's why we give a guarantee within our programs, especially when with our 1 year commitment. If a coach says that this is my goal, I'll tell them, it's like, we'll help you make that happen, or you don't pay. But there's only one condition: you show up and do the work. Usually, if they show up and do the work, they do 10 times better than what their goal was anyway. So it's not really that risky of a guarantee for us, but it tells them that we're we're going to show up as long as they're going to show up and do the work. So the program will work as long as they do the work. It's not going to work if they don't do the work. We've had plenty of coaches who showed up one session and then they disappeared for 6 months. They came back. They're like, well, nothing has happened. I'm like, well, what have you done?
Of course it hasn't happened.
And I've even had coaches who would get on a call with us and be like, this is amazing. Then they would disappear after 3 months. They would send along emails like, I don't know what the value of this program is. Then they would get on a call with us, be like, this is amazing. And then they would just, I'm like,
because they weren't engaging, you know. But you know, on the other hand, we've had people who have come to one session, and it wasn't even a paid session, and then they went and implemented what we talked about over and over and over again, and they came back a few months later and said like, "Hey, here's what I did. I got 5 new clients pretty fast." And you know, like all kinds of stuff. Like it depends on your approach. It's like, are you really owning this, or are you not owning it?
yeah. And in summary, what we're trying to say here is that, are you going to do the same thing you were doing last year, or are you going to invest strategically in your business and in your own growth? And one thing we know for sure is that as a coach, you need a coach. Don't try to bypass that. And if you're building your business, and the way we have set up CMC is that you will get a coach, you will get accountability, you will get business coach, you will get coaching on your mindset side, and you will get feedback for your coaching. I'd say there maybe is one other community in the world that offers something like this, but that's a much bigger program. They charge more. The personalized level of support that we give, it's unheard of. A lot of times our clients will say that like, they don't even know how we support them at the level that we do. We put in a lot of effort because we realized that we needed this starting out as coaches in the beginning stages of our coaching business. And we know that it's like upfront, there's a lot of work. A lot of times when I help coaches, upfront, there's a bunch of work, but all of a sudden, once they get it, they go off and do their thing. So there's also sort of a freedom behind it too. It's like, if I can help you in the beginning, do the heavy lifting, then you will go off and create your own business if you're really serious about this thing. So find the strategic community to invest in, where you get a coach, you get accountability, you get support on your business. Stop going towards high-level marketing programs or a business coach you're going to hire who has no experience in building a coaching business of this kind. They might understand business, but they might not understand how the product or service for this works in this space. And especially in the beginning stages, that's very hard for them to help you. They might be really good later on with systems and bigger processes, but not in the initial stages. So find a community that will help you build your business at least to 6-figure or multiple 6-figure, and then you can go off and do all kinds of things.
Awesome.
And then finally,
go ahead.
One last point is take ownership of your investments. Set clear ROIs, set clear intentions, and force yourself to commit to the thing, because nobody else is going to take ownership of your business and life. You will. It doesn't matter how great the programs are.
Yeah, and if you like what you're hearing today, and you like the points we're making, and you like the idea of having a solid community supporting you as a coach, and a community that's not like the other communities out there that are just teaching, we're talking about implementation support, then join us. Come to cmc.coach and send us a message, and we'll respond to everybody, and we want to hear from you. If we can support you, we'll be happy to tell you more. Or just join our free community, and you can hear our podcast every week, and you can engage with us on the platform, on the Facebook platform. So just go to cmc.coach and you'll find your way over there. And if you know of any other coaches who you think this would be valuable for, please do share it with them. Send them this episode to tell them like how the coaching business could be different in 2026 as opposed to just the same.
Yeah, and we lead with value. We teach our coaches to lead with value. So there's lots of value in our free community. This podcast you're listening to is probably aired on the outside world weeks after, even though this is broadcasted live every week in our community. We bring lots of other value. We support our members, even in the free community. One of the reasons why they join our community is because they feel supported so much on the free side. So definitely join our community, share with other coaches, and so we can reach more coaches like you.
And so in 2026, get out there, get consistent, keep coaching, and we will see you all across the year.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.